Chapter 8 of Minn of the Mississippi. Minn becomes a river monster. See, guys, holding her up. She's really, really big. From the White Water Wall, head of navigation for large steamboats, Minn traveled a winding river. She explored new marshes and islands, each summer leaving more eggs in a new nest. Her restless spirit always took her back to the river. Though she fought it and in spring strove to edge upstream as other snappers might do, floods met and swallowed her and forced her southward again. Like the river itself, lashing back and forth between bluffs, she struggled against fate. At last, her tired leg would give up to the river, and she would go almost gleefully over ring dams, over big dams, scooting places in a watery hurry. And she had her adventures. An elderly riverman rode an eastern tourist along the vine-clad shores. Pointy said, "Look, snapper with its head high." Then up is still trustful of folks and ain't been hurt much lately. But once snappers get hurt, they sure remember lessons. They get wise and plenty shy. Man's got to go somewhere to outsmart 'em. A second autumn out of St. Paul, Minn was 10 years old and a carapace 11 inches long. She forced her 10 pounds into a crowded apartment. It had been a muskrat burrow in a marshy bank. As more turtles found it, each scratched at the walls, widening the burrow. When the last had arrived, Minn had laired among 15 other snappers in the mud. Such an army left telltale signs at the door. 2 turtle hunters found the trampled entrance and dug out, though. "Sure hit the jackpot," one chuckled, careful to lift each turtle by its long, knobby tail. A smart haul of turtles' meat for stew and soup. He dropped the sluggish animals into the scow for his partner to tie up in sacks. "Them restaurants will pay. Let's see now. Big and little. They will run about 10 pounds dressed meat apiece. 10 times 16 is 160 pounds. At 10 cents, that makes $16. A few more hauls like this here. And hey, what are you doing, tossing that turtle back in the river? Have you gone plumb haywire?" "Nope, I'm just sensitive. My young brother come out of war with one leg gone. This turtle lost its aim, and I'm giving her a chance." Up to now, Minn had somehow eluded fish lines. She disliked the looks of baited hooks. But near Hastings, Minnesota, she sampled one. Without swallowing the bait, as most turtles do, she snapped it up, hastily tossing her head sideways. The hook's sharp point pierced down in her mouth, sliding through the soft middle at the end of her lower jaw. Surprised by the sudden spurt of pain, Minn slashed blindly about her. She found nothing to fight except empty water. Then she was conscious of the hook itself. Its shank had turned over and lay half out of her mouth. Though her powerful bite could cut sticks, this thing was steel. Snapping merely left bruised notches along the cutting edge of her jaw. The problem grew more complicated in an instant. The hook was going somewhere and dragging Minn with it. At the stubborn, relentless pull of the line, Minn went into a fury of tugging, swinging her head, whipping it about. But she had no place for a grip with her feet. She couldn't touch bottom now. There was no leverage in green water. She felt herself being drawn steadily upward on a long slant. She recognized the shadow of a boat's bottom above her. Then she bumped the boat and had something to brace against. Pushing away from the boat's side with her strong front feet, she felt her head yanked above the water. Now she saw her real enemy. It was not the hook, nor the line, but a man. Except for their splashing, pole poking, and stone tossing, Minn had no real ill feelings for men. But for this one, her eyes filled with an icy glitter. A cold reptilian hate had focused on this human. It was a forgotten hate, dredged up from the depths of ancient swamps, formed and funneled into one piercing look, and the man holding the line taut over the gunwale felt the odd force of this gaze. It made him nervous. Those unwinking, beady eyes were staring at him. He was after fish, not turtle. Why had this dumb reptile grabbed his line? He'd show the world that it didn't pay to spoil a St. Paul plumber's Saturday afternoon. He reached for his gaff and swung, but the big landing hook missed. There's a picture of most snapping turtles, and that's a picture of how big Minn has gotten. The man's second swing of the gaff nicked Minn's carapace along its edge, then thudded into the boat's side, sticking tightly. The snapper had not moved a muscle from her open mouth, baleful glare. The man worked faster, prying at the gaff, trying to keep his elbows from Minn's reach, to hold the wire lead tight, to draw his eyes from the ancient reptilian stare. But this was too much for him. He lost his balance, the boat slid over until, with a choking squawk of fear, he slid head first down on the snapper into the water. As he told it afterwards, the snapping turtle grew in his memory. Her wide-apart jaws swelled wider in his nightmare. One eye, a windmill of frenzy, turned into a green whirlpool in which he and his boat and a monster turtle churned round and round. Such visions could not be conjured up by an ordinary snapping turtle. It must have been an alligator snapper, a big loggerhead, and not an ordinary loggerhead either. A full 12 inches between those awful eyes, if an inch, a shell twice as big as the boat, and it must have weighed, well, over 400 pounds. Didn't it tip his craft easily as rolling a log? And there he was, sliding downward over the reptile, feeling her sharp beak bumping his soft, unprotected stomach. It was sure a miracle he wasn't split like a melon, then and there. And what did he do? Why, he splashed and scrambled and hoisted himself on the overturned boat and lay there gasping on the slippery bottom, hauling his feet in, expecting to lose a leg any minute. Talk about horror. Yes, there was something plenty uncanny about it. Personally, he wasn't so sure the old Indian tales might not be true. There might be real river monsters. Minn had not paused for revenge. She only wanted to get away. Paddling swiftly down, she dragged line and rod. The rod caught on a snag. The line snagged under her jaw and tore off close to the leader. Under a waterlogged plank, she slunk in slow fury, mouthing the steel. At last the point slid out under her jaw and caught in driftwood. The wire leader slid through the wound, and Minn was free. She really become a river monster? No, the man was so scared he told big tales about her, even though it wasn't quite true.